Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum dear students. I hope you all are fine. Let's start our lesson number 13, active and passive voice. Dear students, passive voice is used when we want to focus attention on the person or thing affected by the action. When we write the sentence in passive voice, we change the order to have the subject first and the object last, and we use third form of verb. Okay, let's take start from present indefinite tense. The structure of active voice is subject plus first form of verb plus s or es if our subject is third person singular. Okay, and then object. Okay, and the structure of passive voice is we will use auxiliary verb is, am, are while making passive voice. Okay, and the structure is object, then is, am, or are according to the object. Okay, and then third form of verb, then by, and then subject. And the structure of negative sentence, active sentence is subject plus do or does plus not plus first form of verb and then object. And the structure of negative sentence in passive voice, object plus is, am, are plus not plus third form of verb, then by, and then subject. For interrogative sentence, the structure for active sentence is does or do plus subject plus first form of verb and then object and then question mark. And the structure of passive voice of interrogative sentence of present indefinite tense is, am, are first and then object, then first third form of verb and then by and then subject. Okay, now come to the past indefinite tense. Structure of past indefinite tense active voice sentence is subject plus second form of verb and then object. Okay, and the passive voice, the structure is we will use auxiliary verb was or were here, and the structure is object plus was or were, then third form of verb, after that by, and then subject. Alright, and then in the negative sentence in active voice we will write first subject and then did and then not, first form of verb and then object. Okay, second form it will be changed into first form because we use did here. Alright, and then we make passive voice. The structure is object, then was or were, then not, then third form of verb, by, and then subject. Okay, we will use was or were according to the object. If the object is singular we will use was, and the object is plural we will use were. Alright, and then interrogative sentence in of past indefinite tense. For active sentence we will write did plus subject and then first form of verb and then object and then question mark. And when we make passive of this interrogative sentence we will write was or were, then object, then third form of verb, then by, and then subject, and obviously question mark. Okay, here are some examples for present indefinite tense and past indefinite tense. Let's see the examples of present indefinite tense first. The active sentence is he reads a novel. Okay, and the passive is here novel is object and he is subject. Okay, in passive voice we will write object first, a novel, and then we will put auxiliary verb is, and then the third form of verb read by him. Okay, him, we will put objective case of he here. Okay, and the second example is he does not cook food. Okay, this is a negative sentence and we will make passive food is not cooked by him. Okay, here is an interrogative sentence. Active is does he purchase books, and the passive is are books purchased by him. question mark. Okay, look, another sentence. They grow plants. Okay, and the passive is plants are grown by them. The next sentence is she teaches me, and the passive voice is I am taught by her. Okay, and now the examples of past indefinite tense. Active sentence is Rima cleaned the floor, and the passive is the floor was cleaned by Rima. Here we use auxiliary verb was. Okay, and third form of verb and then by and then subject Rima. If there is a name as a subject, we will write the same name here. Okay, another sentence active. Aisha bought a bicycle, and the passive voice is a bicycle was bought by Aisha. Okay, another sentence, this is a interrogative sentence. Did Noman call my friends? Question mark, and the passive is were my friends called by Noman? Question mark. We'll put were instead of did. Okay, and here's a negative sentence. I did not save him. Okay, and the passive is he was not saved by me. We write was instead of did in passive voice. Okay, here's another sentence. Maria paid the bills. The passive is the bills were paid by Maria. Okay, is it clear? Now come to the continuous tense. First we'll discuss present continuous tense. In present continuous tense, in active voice, the structure is subject plus is/am/are plus first form and then ing, then object. Okay, you all know very well the structure of active voice. Now in passive voice, we'll use auxiliary verb is/am/are and plus being in continuous tense. Okay, and the structure is object plus is/am/are plus being, then third form of verb, then by plus subject. Okay, always keep this thing in your mind. We will use third form of verb in every passive voice. Okay, and then the negative sentence. In active voice, we will write subject first, then is/am/are, then not, then first form of verb plus ing, and then object. And in passive voice, we will write object first, then is/am/are plus not, and then being, and then third form of verb and by and subject. Okay, and in interrogative sentences, uh, in active voice, we will write is/am/are first, then subject, and then first form with ing, and then object, and then question mark. And while making passive voice, we will write is/am/are first, then object, then third form of verb, then by, and then subject, and then question mark. Is that clear? Now come to past continuous tense. In past continuous tense, in active voice, the structure of active voice subject plus was were, then first form of verb and ing, then object. Okay, and while making passive voice, we will use auxiliary verb was or were plus being. Okay, and the structure of passive voice is object first, then was or were, then we will put being, and then obviously third form of verb, then by, and then subject. Okay, and the structure of negative sentence. In active voice, we will put subject first, then was were, then not, first form of verb plus ing, and then object. But in passive voice, we will write object first, and then was were, then not, and then being, then third form of verb, after that by and subject. Okay, and in interrogative sentences, in active voice, we will write was were first, and then subject, and then first form of verb plus ing, and then object, and then question mark. Okay, and while making passive voice of interrogative sentence, we will put was were first, and then object instead of subject, and then we will put being, and then third form of verb by, and then subject. Okay, now here are some examples of present continuous tense and past continuous tense. Let's see the example of present continuous tense first. The active sentence is Isha is singing a song. Okay, here a song is object, and while making passive we will write a song first. A song is being, we will put being here. While making the passive of continuous tense we will put being. Okay, being third form of verb sung by Isha. Okay, another sentence, Uzma is not chopping vegetables. This is a negative sentence. Okay, and the passive voice is vegetables are not being chopped by Uzma. Okay, and here is another sentence. This is interrogative sentence. Is Meera buying a table? And the passive is a table being bought by Meera? Question mark. Okay, another example, they are serving poor people, and the passive is poor people are being served by them. Okay, here is another sentence, she is disturbing Zubair, and the passive is Zubair is being disturbed by her. Okay, now the examples of past continuous tense. Active is Atika was painting the wall. Okay, here we use was instead of is mr. Okay, everything is same like present continuous tense, and the passive is the wall was being painted by Atika. Okay, another sentence, active is Danish was repairing the car, and the passive is the car was being repaired by Danish. Here is a negative sentence, sorry, interrogative sentence. Active is were you reciting the poem, and the passive is was the poem being recited by you. You can write by you here. Okay, and another sentence, active sentence is she was not baking the cake, and the passive is the cake was not being baked by her. Here is another example. Active is she was watching me, and the passive is I was being watched by her. Okay, is that clear? Now come to the next one, that is present perfect tense and past perfect tense. Okay, in present perfect tense, in active voice the structure is subject plus has or have, and then third form of verb, and then object. Okay, in passive voice we will use auxiliary verb has or have, and been, B-E-E-N, been. Okay, and the structure of passive voice is object plus has or have, then been, then third form of verb, and then by, and then subject. Okay, and the structure of negative sentence, in active voice we will write subject first, then has or have, after that now not, then third form of verb, and then object in the last. But in passive voice we will write object first, and then has or have plus not, and then we will add been here, B-E-E-N, been, then third form of verb, and then by, and then subject in the end. Okay, and the structure of interrogative sentence, in active sentences we will write has or have first, then subject, and then third form of verb, and then object, and then question mark. And the passive voice of interrogative sentence is has or have, then object, and then been, then third form of verb, then by, and then subject and question mark. Okay, student, do not forget to put question mark in the end of the interrogative sentences. Okay, let's see the past perfect tense. Okay, the structure of active voice is subject plus had, then third form of verb, and then object. In passive voice we will use auxiliary verb had plus been, like in present perfect tense we use has have, and here we use had. Okay, and the structure of passive voice is object, then had plus been, then third form of verb, then by, and then subject. Okay, and the structure of negative sentences, In active voice, we will write subject plus had and then not, then third form of verb and then object. And in passive voice, we will write object first and then had, then not, and then we will add been here, BEEN been, then third form of verb, then by, and then subject at the end. And in interrogative sentences, dear students, we will in active voice we will write had first and then subject, then third form of verb and then object, after that question mark. And in passive voice we will put had first and then object instead of subject, then been, and then third form of verb, and then by, and then subject. Okay, now come to the examples of present perfect tense and past perfect tense. Okay, first present perfect tense, the active sentence is Umair has challenged her. Okay, and the passive is she has been challenged by Umair. Okay, here the object is her, and when we write object first, we will write the subjective case of her. Okay, that is she. And the another sentence is active sentence is Raza has not written an article. This is a negative. This is a negative sentence. Okay, and the passive voice of negative sentence is an article has not been written by Raza. Okay. Here is another sentence. This is interrogative sentence. Have they left the apartment? Question mark. And the passive voice is has apartment been left by them? Question mark. Okay. Here is another sentence. She has created this masterpiece. And the passive voice is this masterpiece has been created by her. Okay, another sentence. I have read the newspaper. And the passive voice is the newspaper has been read by me. Okay, now past perfect tense. Look at the sentence. The active sentence is Nisha had cleaned the floor. And the passive voice is the floor had been cleaned by Nisha. Okay, the structure is same as the present perfect tense. We just add we just write had here instead of has or have. Okay, another sentence is Michelle had solved the doubt, and the passive voice is the doubt had been solved by Michelle. Okay, here is interrogative sentence. Had they caught the thief? Question mark. And the passive voice is had the thief been caught by them? Question mark. Here is another sentence. I had not paid 50,000. And the passive is 50,000 had not been paid by me. Okay, is it clear? Now come to the next tense, future tense. First we will see future indefinite tense. In active voice we will write subject first, then will or shall, and then first form of verb and then object. But in passive voice we will write object first and then will or shall, then we will add be here, and then third form of verb and then by, and after that subject. Okay, for negative sentences in active voice we will write subject first, then will or shall, after that not, and then first form of verb and then object. For passive voice we will write object first and then will or shall plus not plus be, then third form of verb and then subject. For interrogative in active voice we will write will or shall first, then subject, after that first form of verb and then object plus question mark. And in passive voice we will write will or shall first and then object instead of subject, then we will add be, then third form of verb, then by, and then subject, and after that question mark. Okay, now come to the next one, that is future perfect tense. In active voice the sentence structure is we will write subject first, then will or shall, then have, then third form of verb and then object. Okay, in passive voice we will write object first, then will or shall, then have, and then been. We will add been here, BEEN been, then third form of verb, then by, and then subject. Okay, For making negative sentences in active voice, we will write subject first, then will or shall, after that not, then have, then third form of verb, and then object. Okay. In passive voice, we will write object first, then will or shall, then not, then have, and then been, B-E-E-N, been, then third form of verb, and then subject. Okay. And in interrogative sentences in active voice, we will write will or shall first, then subject, then have, then third form of verb, and then object, after that question mark. And passive voice, we will write will or shall first, then object, after that have plus been plus third form of verb plus by, and then subject, and after that question mark. Okay, is that clear? Now look at the examples of these tenses. First of all, we will see the examples of future indefinite tense. The active sentence is Hira will stitch the bag. Okay, and the passive is the bag will be stitched by Hira. Another sentence, Nisha will not arrange the things, and the passive is the things will not be arranged by Nisha. Okay, here is an interrogative sentence. Sentences, will you mop the floor, question mark, and the passive voice is will the floor be mopped by you, question mark. Okay, look at another sentence, they will post the letter, and the passive is the letter will be posted by them. Okay, here is another sentence, active is Rima will save money, and the passive is money will be saved by Rima. Okay, clear? Now come to the examples of future perfect tense. The sentences, the active sentences, they will have brought the toy. Okay, and the passive is the toy will have been brought by them. Okay, another sentence, it is a negative sentence, Nimra will not have changed the table cover, and the passive is the table cover will not have been changed by Nimra. Okay, here's another sentence, the active is, this is an interrogative sentence, will she have written the notes, and the passive is will the notes have been written by her. Okay, here's another sentence, the active is they will have won the match, and the passive is the match will have been won by them. Okay, dear students, is it clear? And keep this thing in your mind, there is no passive voice formation for these tenses: present perfect continuous tense, past perfect continuous tense, future perfect continuous tense, and future continuous tense. Okay, is that clear? If there is some problem, you can ask me. Now your homework, learn all the rules of passive voice and make 5 sentences of your own using all these tenses. Okay, that's all for today. Allah Hafiz.